Namaste, you beautiful and amazing human beings. That actually means hi in Indian. Don't worry, I'm not turning a full hippy dippy loontard. But anyway, that is video that Donald Trump officially retweeted upon the announcement of his visit in India, which we will be breaking down the significance of geopolitically, especially with all the incredible news happening around American foreign policy, including the latest information about the Afghanistan-Taliban peace deal that you're not hearing about in the mainstream media, the extremely messy situation unfolding right now in Syria with Turkey, Russia, and China being very involved in what looks like a situation that will soon escalate to very dangerous proportions. And then, of course, we're also going to be talking about China, Philippines, and, of course, a lot more. All specifically surrounding American hegemony, foreign policy, geopolitical updates that, of course, you won't hear anywhere else. I mean, you don't even hear about the topic of foreign policy being discussed in the presidential debates, but it is a key important factor since American foreign policy is essentially policy of the world. And we're going to do that plus a lot more on this independent media organization that is supported by you. And one easy, quick way to support us without even spending a dime is by using alternative crypto privacy-backed services like the Brave browser. That has saved me an incredible amount of time, while of course allowing people who use our specific link to reward us with the crypto that they get for simply using this browser. And not talking out of my buttocks, this seriously is a way better, faster browser than Google Chrome, Mozilla Firefox, and of course all the other ones. And even if you don't choose to use our specific promo code and link, which will support us, I would still even just recommend checking out this software yourself and enabling yourself to have an extra layer of privacy, security, and crypto in your own personal life. Now, of course, there is a lot of news about Donald Trump's official visit to India, and of course we're seeing a lot of superficial news about this, especially with Donald Trump labeling this the biggest event that they ever had, bragging that of course he's going to be holding the largest gathering ever. India, of course, is spending $14 million to hide the slums and very unsanitary neighborhoods in the surrounding regions. But of course this is all superficial stuff that actually doesn't matter. Oh yeah, there's also been talks of monkeys and the fears of monkeys attacking Trump. Personally, being to India myself, those are aggressive monkeys. But anyway, away from all of those distractions, this particular meeting does have a lot of implications, especially when it comes to American foreign policy and American hegemony. With the Philippines recently ending U.S. military cooperation with the United States after the United States put sanctions on some Philippines officials for fighting their war on drugs in a very aggressive fashion, and now with the Philippines openly embracing China and Russia, along with the news of a possible Afghanistan peace deal that will see some of the U.S. troops returning home, and the prospects of the U.S. military-industrial complex winding down in the Philippines and Afghanistan, it needs a place. Oh, look, India's right here in the middle. How convenient to, of course, number one, still keep its influence, its military presence around very important trading routes, and still have a significant presence against their geopolitical foes, China and Russia. And just strictly talking about policy here, not whether something is good or wrong, an alliance with India does make sense, since it is a population of 1.3 billion people, most of which that speak English, and it's a country that is also seeking close relationships to the United States, since of course they are buying a lot of U.S. military equipment, which of course makes the military-industrial complex, the intelligence agencies, and the mainstream media very happy and giddy about this. Now, of course, India is doing this because of their very tense, heated relationship with their neighbor Pakistan that, again, is an extremely worrying situation and has both of these two countries on the brink of nuclear war. And India also needs this because of their also tense relationship with China, who are, of course, their geopolitical foes, which is a shared common interest with the United States. And India is still having very serious negotiations and tense military standoffs with the Chinese military about contested land in the Himalayan area. So doubling down on the U.S.'s alliance with India is a strategic win-win for both countries. Now, let me clear up some misnomers that are being perpetrated by the mainstream media that are absolutely hooey. One of them is that the United States, specifically the U.S. President Donald Trump, has a very close and cozy relationship with Russia and Putin. And as we documented with many incidences, that is definitely not the case at all. We will go into this later on in this video. 2, there is news of a peace deal with the Taliban in Afghanistan that, of course, many hardline mainstream media neocon critics are detesting. This, of course, is a deal that is in play right now. There's a 7-day reduction in violence treaty happening right now, and if this next 6 days have no violence, there will be other steps of troop withdrawals from Afghanistan, which again, it's been 19 years too long since this happened. There has been absolutely nothing accomplished. There's been, I mean, if we get into Afghanistan, I could make an hour-long video just about the atrocities of Afghanistan, the number of civilians, 10,000 last year, some estimates 100,000 civilians killed or injured, all of course as opium. 90% of it is supplied from that country with the protection of the United States military, who also are told to protect pedophiles in the Afghanistan military and get in trouble for exposing that fact. Yeah, it's pretty sick. Now, of course, I am all for negotiations, diplomacy, and peace deals being brought forward. And yes, this is a step in the positive direction, and you shouldn't believe the mainstream media garbage and neocon crap thrown at you that are against this. But a big point that a lot of people are missing here is that the troop withdrawals that would happen would bring back the troop levels to the original levels that were there when Donald Trump first took office, before, of course, he surged more troops in there. And even though this is, again, a step in the right direction, it still needs to be put in perspective with the realization that the military-industrial complex always gets their way, regardless who is president, regardless what president, under what party, under what color or gang promises you. As we've been seeing from Trump, Bush, Obama, promises of no intervention, of bringing the troops home. And of course, that doesn't happen. That doesn't change with the president, which shows you that the military-industrial complex is predominantly at the helm of power in the United States, while, of course, other countries like China and Russia are cementing more personality-driven leadership that wants to be in power for life, with important steps taken by Russia and China to do this. Now, specifically, China is in a very interesting spot, in a not very good spot. As a rising power that some say will be questioning U.S. global hegemony, it is also a country filled with a lot of problems, a lack of resources, and geopolitically located in a not strong position. Not just talking about the lack of natural resources, farming ability, and water, which they've been combating by trying to farm in deserts, and of course also trying to establish island military bases, because again, they are in a very weak position, landlocked here. This is why also China's expansion into this very rich, fertile land area has increased tensions between India and them. But China, of course, is reeling, especially economically, after the latest coronavirus outbreaks that seem to be increasing and only getting worse from here. The economic impacts have been so severe that China is now encouraging its own citizens to return to work, even though it is clearly still very unsafe for them to do so. And with China in a very desperate situation as its own individual empire that is reeling and in decline, historically when that happens, this is usually a time for instability and brazen actions by their leadership, which is something that we should keep a close eye on. Whenever empires are in economic decline, we usually see conflicts emerge because of that. Now let's talk about Russia. the vast empire in the north that has the same economy as Italy. You know, the country that the U.S. intelligence agencies and the mainstream medias have been crying about and actively trying to manipulate you to hate. Russia, you know, that country, you know, who's actively involved in cyber warfare, hacking and subversion, just like all the other countries in the world. Again, one other misnomer, one other thing that people should really understand is that Israel, Saudi Arabia, China, India, the United States, England, all hack each other. There's a major cyber war happening. Allies don't matter. Information is key, and they are trying to gather as much information as they can on all of each other. So the fact that Russia is always highlighted as the problem here, while clear intervention, clear collusion, outright just manipulation and lobbying by other countries isn't even mentioned, is a huge disservice and shows you that something else is going on here. And again, you should be extremely skeptical whenever an anonymous source speaks without showing any evidence, which the mainstream media is just running wild with right now. And again, the situation with Russia and the United States, it's not one of a bromance. It's not a good one. It's one that's deteriorating and also has the world on edge. There's even just incredible footage showing jihadis in Syria trying to shoot down Russian jets with advanced surface-to-air missiles that they could only get from advanced militaries that gave them those capabilities. All of this is happening as the U.S. military cannot account for giving $715 million to, quote, the Syrian rebels. And, of course, many people are highlighting how this was weaponry for Syrian partners to fight ISIS. But, again, as we've been highlighting here, there's been many documented photos and videos showing of military supply ships dropping supplies to ISIS. There's been many independent videos and footage that we have verified that show jihadis with U.S. military equipment. There's jihadis, ISIS, al-Nusra, running away from their position, uncovering most of their supplies. Surprise, 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 came from either the United States, Israel, or Saudi Arabia. And of course, it's no secret that the United States was arming and funding the jihadis and, quote, moderate rebels, which turned out to be ISIS, al-Nusra, and all these other radical groups, to the tunes of hundreds of millions of dollars. And the fact that the United States military can't account for this, as of course jihadis are still using advanced surface-to-air missiles to shoot down Russian military aircraft, shows you that, again, the war is no longer in a neutral state and will be only escalating from here with rising tensions between Russia and the United States that are reaching a boiling point. And it's not only in Syria that this is happening, this is also happening in Libya, where one faction of the Libyan government, because there's many now, it's a totally failed state with many factions vying for power. One faction is asking for the United States to establish a military base there, while another faction is closely working with Russia, setting off yet another example of the larger proxy war that is happening between these two global nuclear powers, who, of course, are in a second nuclear arms race and only advancing and building new future weapons that utterly bankrupt and corrupt government states, handing out endless government welfare funds to the military-industrial complex to the tune of trillions of dollars, as of course the situation only gets worse from here. Now, if you remember, Donald Trump talked about withdrawing troops from Syria, which he never did. All he did is withdraw troops from the Kurdish-controlled areas and move them along to the Syrian oil fields, which they still are at right now. The United States military is occupying Syrian oil fields. It is not their oil, but they're still there under the leadership of Donald Trump, who is keeping them there. This, of course, is directly creating many clashes with Syrian militias and also Russian forces in the region that are literally driving each other off the road, blocking each other from patrolling certain areas, and creating incidences of road rage that could literally escalate towards global war and, of course, spark a wider conflict since, again, the United States has been on the side of rebels. The Russian government has been on the side of the Syrian government. And to make the situation that much worse and that much more complicated, Turkey had another complete foreign policy shift and is now currently asking the United States for missile defense systems to fend off Russian influence in the region. Now, if you remember, a few years ago, Turkey shot down a Russian fighter jet. This has escalated a situation where a NATO ally was almost at war with Russia. Since then, Russia and Turkey have worked together, agreed upon many different partnerships, and looked like they had a very cozy relationship, with Turkey even asking to supply them with Russian military defense missile systems, which angered the United States. The United States sent sanctions against Turkey. The United States left the Kurdistan region, which Turkey again invaded after the United States left. And now Turkey did a whole other U-turn, and then now they're pissed off at Russia, since Russia is standing behind the Syrian government and is asking Turkey to leave the Syrian-occupied territory that they are holding right now in Idlib. Now again, Turkey's policy, again, just completely bipolar, can't be trusted, very unstable in the region, and currently they are occupying a part of Syria, Idlib, where they are allowing Sunni radical Islamic jihadists to rule. They even shoot and execute women for the crime of adultery in that region. There's been other Turkey proxy militants in that region that have been executing, beheading, filming Kurdish prisoners and civilians, with, of course, the Syrian military and their forces answering back and demanding that Turkey pull out of that region. And with the Syrian army, with the support of the Russians sending more troops towards that region, it is expected to be yet another global geopolitical catastrophe that hopefully the United States stays out of, even though there's utter complete CFR buffooned celebritard idiots like Angelina Jolie that are asking the United States to help out the rebel groups in Syria. I mean, gosh golly, how putrid, disgusting does one own's mental instability have to be calling for more U.S. troops involved in this utterly chaotic, stupid situation that doesn't serve anyone other than the military-industrial complex. So yeah, again, in short, we have a lot of promises from Donald Trump to withdraw the troops from Afghanistan, but he's just gonna eventually, maybe if it works out, if the neocons and the mainstream media and intelligence agencies don't have their way with him like they usually do, maybe we'll be back to where the troops were when he first got into office. Oh, gee whiz. It's going to be another similar situation to what we've seen in Syria. Trump promising pullout, but now keeping the troops in Syrian oil fields, which directly puts our troops in danger and just hijacks and steals a country's energy supply for some reason. The United States is, of course, going to be expanding their empire with, of course, their close alliance with India right now that they're going to be building on. And with the Chinese empire in decline, they're definitely not going to be going away quietly. Russia, of course, will be always expanding and building upon their interests, but they are stuck in a very tough situation inside of Syria right now, and this situation is just an absolute hotbed that could blow up at any moment and time. So yeah, don't believe the mainstream media, especially when they tell you, Putin and Trump are best bud. No, I mean, you look at the geopolitical situation, I haven't seen anyone, I don't even see anyone even on the alternative media break down the exact situation of what's happening around the world. And if you appreciate this video and if you want more of it, share this video with your friends and family members. If this video does well, I will be doing more important geopolitical updates to show you exactly what's happening all around the world, and not just these micro small issues that absolutely are just trivial and have no impact on your life that a lot of people concentrate on social media. Let's show people that the actual issues, the actual things that do happen, do matter. Duh. So yeah, that's my take on it. If you think I'm wrong, let me know why in the comment section below. Click the notification button if you want to be a part of the conversation. I always answer comments within the first hour that a video is out. So again, thank you so much for watching, sharing, and being a part of independent media. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you, and this is why. Love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on WeAreChange.org.